Hello. Anyone in the chat? Just giving some time. Lost the internet right before I was about to start, so I'm hoping everything's still working. All right, that's weird. That's weird. No, let me turn my phone off. For some reason, chat's not working on my computer. I see people on my phone. Okay, there's everyone. Okay, good. Just started working. Awesome. Thank you for the congratulations, everybody. It's the first time I did this, so I hope not first time I got in 30,000 subscribers. First time I did this sort of live stream. So I'm learning as I go, as I do with many things. Let's give us some time. I just tweeted out, Facebook out, stuff like that. Excuse me a second. This is what you guys show up for. See me blow my nose. Just want to wait, see if anyone else shows up. What am I able to do? Well, I can put you guys in timeout. That's hilarious. My Thanksgiving. I might as well start. I'll just start talking to you guys. Let me begin really quick. So, hi everyone. My name is Matt Mitrich, the Alternate Historian, and this is my Q&A to celebrate 30,000 subscribers on YouTube. Yay! So yeah, I'm very excited about this. First time, like I said, this is the first time I've done a Q&A. I'm going to try to stop shaking my table. This is the first time I've done a Q&A like this. So I don't know if it goes well, we might do more. But yeah, so I'm just going to read some chat here, some of the things that people said. Carlos, thank you for the congratulations. Thank you, Para Iwi, Corey. Hey, nice to see you there. Vitor, Sliders on review series. Yeah, I've been bad about that. I can't remember the last one I did. I think the last one I did. Let me go check my my YouTube's studio thing right here. I do want to get back to that. They're not difficult videos to make. I've just been sort of, A-Kids. A-Kids was the last episode I did. So yeah, they're not difficult videos to make. And I really do need to get back to doing it. They're fun to do. I've just sort of been distracted by things that have popped up lately. I just wanted to focus on other stuff. Eric Flint passing away, was a surprise thing to a lot of people. And I really kind of wanted to do something, rather quickly, just to sort of, share what I kind of thought about one of his, most defining works. Events also like, Roe v. Wade being overturned made me kind of want to focus on, that kind of alteration video I did about that, and just other things here and there. But yeah, hopefully I'll get back to doing more slider stuff very soon. Carlos, how was Thanksgiving? It was fun. We went over to my parents. They live in Chicago, so a lot of the family was there. Got to see everyone. Got to have turkey and all that good stuff. And didn't stuff myself, so I feel pretty good about that. But yeah, Thanksgiving was a lot of fun. Girls were well behaved as well. Okay, Para Yui. What do you think would have happened if the Plantagenets English defeated the I can't pronounce French, so I'm sorry about that. Defeated the Valois in the 100 Years' War. Um, hmm. Well, the problem with all these sort of like what if questions is that it's kind of difficult without the research. Um, I don't know. I think the common thing people assume would happen was there would be some sort of like large, English French state that would sort of, be created. That's a common thing. In fact, one of like first mods I ever did for Europa Universalis. This was back, I think, when like one or two. So this was pretty long ago. The first mods I ever played was someone just had that scenario happen. So you were the English and you controlled all of France except for Burgundy and Brittany. I'm pointing at my visible map where those two nations are, where they would be. And no, I'm mistaken about that. So you controlled a good chunk of France, but there was like a French vassal state, um, and they were allied to you and all that kind of stuff. And I remember getting the option to annex them, and I did it on the first try, and they agreed to it. I'm like, oh wow, that's awesome. And then if I ever played that scenario again, they never ever agreed to be annexed, which was kind of rough. So I think that's the common perception would be like France would just become part of the sort of an English uh, political entity or something like that. Whether that would last, I have no idea. Probably not for too much longer. I could see various countries in Europe not liking the idea of this massive English empire on the continent. But I don't know. If anyone else has thoughts, share them in the comments. So how much of a bribe does it take to get you to review my ATL? That's from Corey. And my apologies if there's any sounds coming from the house. My kids are home, so they may make some noise. I don't want bribes. I'm always sort of like, I don't. Some people have offered to pay me things on like Patreon, like, hey, I'll be your patron if you review this thing I did. I'm like, it's a conflict of interest. I don't like the fact I get paid to do something. I tried even if I tried to be honest, I feel like there's always the possibility I might not want to be truly honest. I might pull some of my punches. I mean, I tend, when it comes to reviews, to not try to be that much of a jerk. I don't like savaging things. Because I'm the type of person where I'm not really enjoying a book, I'm not going to finish it. I'm just going to put it aside and be like, well, it's not for me. So, I'm not going to hate read something and then hate review it. But I also always want to be, honest as possible. So, but, if you do have, if you do have something that's can be reviewed for the Sidewise Awards, that's the annual Alter History Awards that are given out at Worldcon every year. So if it's something that's been published either as a novel or a short story, you can send it to the judges, and I can read it through that way. So that's something to consider. Something else. Daniel Bickford. If I miss anybody, feel free to ask me the question again, I guess. Daniel Bickford, are you planning on reviewing any more of the 1632 books? Yes and no. No, in the sense that there's like, I don't know, 100 books in the series. It would take me forever to review all of them, and some of them, probably aren't going to be as interesting as others. I mean, 1602 is a great book, and there are some of the sequels that have been written afterwards that are really good. But I think I'm more interested in doing is just sort of doing a chronology of the entire 1632 timeline. A friend of mine, Sean, who works at Bain, I have discussed it. He's been offered, resources, even talking with some people, authors who work in the timeline. And yeah, I kind of want to just, rather than, review every single book, I'd rather just talk about the chronology, starting from Granville's arrival to the current state of the sort of universe of the United States of Europe and all that kind of stuff. Because it's a really fascinating timeline. They've gone pretty crazy. I didn't realize how crazy they went until I started like doing some research into just the general like larger universe. Like Vienna, for example, has fallen to the Ottomans, and they also have a pretty modern army. So things like that. I'm like, oh, this might actually be interesting to do. To sort of like just look and talk about that. So no, I'm not planning on doing any individual book reviews, but I am planning on doing chronology video where I just talk about the timeline, the historical events that are happening, and sort of my thoughts, opinions on it, whether I think it's plausible as time travelers from the present day arriving in the 30 Years of War and, messing stuff up. Hello, Grisha. Corey, it would probably fall apart after a while as the Norman Anglo kings would ignore England and Scotland and the locals would rebel. Yeah, I mean, you're probably right. At some point, England probably would overextend itself, or the English kings, whoever they may be. And this is assuming, they don't get overthrown as English dynasties are, kind of happens to every once in a while. All you need is some fight over who's in charge, and someone is going to, at some point, some vassal somewhere is going to be like, I'm just going to declare independence. That being the French, obviously. Unknown. Okay. What's your favorite alternate history book? You might as well ask me who my favorite child is. Because there's just so much. I think you kind of really need to ask me like a little bit more specific, like what's my favorite from this era of history? What's my favorite by these type of authors? Blah, 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 blah. I mean, I've talked about in many places, some of my favorite books. I made lists and things like that. But I can't think of like a good one to be like, this is my favorite. I mean, I give a lot of credit to Harry Trudeau's World War Into the Balance because that was the one that got me into alternate history. Just seeing that that book cover had the paperback version where it's Winston Churchill and Hitler standing in front of this like alien weapon. And if you know anything about World War II, why would these two people be standing together? It's such a weird thing, and it caught my eye. And I still remember that. I think it was like Walden Books or Crown Royal, which one of those old bookstores that doesn't exist anymore. Not Crown Royal. I'm thinking of something else. I think it was Walden Books. One of those. It was a bookstore that doesn't exist anymore. I know for sure that for certain. And I remember seeing it, and I was trying to buy a Star Wars, one of the expanding universe Star Wars books. That's what I was going to, but I saw it and it caught my eye, and I'm like, I should read that. And I didn't. I actually went and got the Star Wars book I wanted, but it kind of like stuck in my head. And so eventually, when I went back to the bookstore, I picked it up, read it, and was blown away. I read the entire World War series, the colonization series, and over time, I started reading other Harry Trudeau books, and then I started like going off into other directions, reading other authors like Flint, obviously. Sterling was also, he was writing a lot of books around that time as well. Because I was, this was like the internet was becoming more of a thing. I looked up alternate history and I discovered alternatehistory.com, and that kind of got me into the community. So I don't know if I would say World War in the Balance is my favorite alternate history book, but it's certainly the most influential alternate history book I've read. Oops, sorry. Dimitri Dawo, you have mug. Do you mean my face? Thanks, I guess. Corey, LOL, thank you. Honestly, any criticism make my stuff better. Yeah, I mean, I would love to read everybody's thing. People send me stuff all the time asking me to reread it, to review it, and I would love to get to it, but it's hard. It's so hard trying to keep up with the sidewise stuff, trying to, write my own stuff. Usually when I do. Here's a look behind the scenes, basically, of how I do stuff. I have very limited amount of time to actually work on this channel. It's one of the reasons why you don't see a lot of videos from me. I try for once a month, but oftentimes it's once every 2 months or something like that. Unfortunately, I would love to do more, but it's just I have limited time because usually I really don't get any time to do anything until the kids go to sleep. So, which is 8:30, something like that. And, I have to work in the next day, so I can't stay up too late working because otherwise I'm going to be exhausted and can't do my job. And sometimes, I'm just tired. I just don't feel good, so I don't do there. On the weekends, depending on how busy they are, I might have time in the afternoon. And usually during those times, I usually get a lot done. I get a lot of research, a lot of writing, and I'm able to do a lot more. But, and it's just really difficult with my channel. And then, so as you can see, like, as much as people send me stuff, it's hard for me to do that. I remember back in the day when I had my old blog, I had a group of people, a group of friends who I would be like, I want to review everything that comes, but I can't physically do it. So I'm just emailing you guys. I got this book. Who wants to read it? Write up a review and post it on my blog. And for a while I did that. I kind of should probably bring that back, just get a bunch of people who'd be interested in doing that. And maybe I can, post their reviews somewhere. just so you know, some people get criticism from people who've been doing alternate history kind of works for a while, and I can use whatever audience I have to get some attention to this kind of stuff. Carlos, today I saw a post that said, I heard a Brit called Oreos chocolate sandwich biscuits and finally understand why a revolutionary war had to happen. Excuse me, getting over a cold here. I'll be completely honest with you. Oreos aren't my favorite cookie. Like, they're okay. Like, I'm a pretty simple guy. I like chocolate chip cookies. Those are cookies. Oreos are fine, everything like that. But if you gave me like chocolate chip cookies and Oreos, or like peanut butter cookies and Oreos, or even oatmeal cookies and Oreos, I'll pick all three of those before I pick Oreos. So like, it's fine. I don't hate it, but it's just Oreos. Grisha, you should write an alternate history novel of your own. I would love to. I just have no idea what to write about, like, at all. I have ideas. I sometimes write things down. Even in some rare instances, I've even started writing stuff, but I never stick through it. I kind of just prefer doing these kind of short little videos for now. It keeps me happy. I've published some short stories in the past. I think I still have a Goodreads author profile. So if you look me up there, you could probably find where you can find those short stories. They're all right. I wrote them like probably a decade now ago. It's been a while, so I have no idea how much they've held up. But if anyone wants to go check them out, I'm sure you can find cheap or free copies of them somewhere. But I would love to. Again, it comes with wanting to, figuring out what to write, having the time to write it, and on top of that, like, it's easy to world build. That's what's one of the fun things about alternate history. It's just a really easy way to research and world build and create this alternate history and all that kind of stuff. But it takes practice and some skill to actually write a novel that people want to read. You got books like For Want of a Nail or When Angels Wept, which are basically just like history novels disguised as alternate histories, but they read as like a textbook, and it's fine. You can have fun with that. And there's a lot of timelines online that are like that. Walking Through Dreams, the recent Sideways Award nominee, is like that as well. But the problem is not everyone finds that interesting. Most people don't want to read a textbook. They want to read a story with characters. They want to see dialogue. They want to see themes and all that kind of stuff. And that's a struggle I think a lot of alternate historians have, especially ones who kind of grow up in the online environment, where trying to transfer their world building skills over into something that could have kind of like mainstream mass appeal. They don't know how to write characters and things like that, and they don't know how to tell an actual story. It's easy to write a fake history. It's much harder to write a story. So we'll see if I ever do that. So Vitor, The Alteration, Kingsley Amis. Definitely on my to read pile. Everyone says it's really good, and I still have yet to take a look at it one of these days. Who's your favorite child then? This is from Unknown. You are. Didn't think you know this, but I'm your dad. So, you're not getting any money from me. So sorry to hear that. Actual question. Your favorite World War II alternate history book? Well, I don't want to say World War in the Balance. But so if I had to say my favorite World War II alternate history book, I wonder if it's right here. That's a good question. I think, oh man, this is hard. I think I would have to say, maybe this makes me a little basic, but I think I would have to say Robert Harris's Fatherland. I mean, I know it was a very popular alternate history novel. I know it was even adapted to, I don't hear the adaptation being all that well received, but it's well written, and it's a really good, mystery that also discusses how, authoritarians can rewrite history that makes themselves look better. And you can almost see it happening. I don't want to spoil anything, but you can almost see what was being covered up ultimately could have happened if history went the way it did. And damn, Harris is such a good writer too. I also read his recent novel Second Sleep, which is not an alternate history, but it has a lot of similarities to it. Definitely check that out if you get the chance. It's a really good novel. But yeah, I still I still look back on it. I've read Fatherland now a couple times, and it's just a really good mystery novel, set in this set in, again, it's a standard, what if the Nazis win, yada yada yada. But he doesn't turn the Nazis into like, techno super, soldiers, blah blah blah. They're just you could see that, the Third Reich is starting to fall apart at the seams. They're struggling. They're probably not going to make it. And it's probably, of a lot of the Nazi win timelines and books out there, it's probably the one that comes closest to creating a plausible version of that story. Even the point of divergence, that the English aren't able to crack the Enigma code, is a lot more interesting, in my opinion, than the usual, hey, they won this battle, so that means they win the war and everything is perfect for them. Like, no, that's probably not what's going to happen. So yeah, that's probably one of my favorite ones. Oops. I lost. Okay. Dimitri, no mug root beer. Drinking Coca-Cola, actually. What's your favorite alternate history point divergent? I like alternate agricultural packages and religions myself. Oh, this is Daniel Bickford. I've been getting a lot more interested in kind of like social history. Ever since I did, let's go. When did I do that? Blah, 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 blah. Ever since I did, what if A. Philip Randolph marched on Washington in 1941? This was, oh man, February 2021. That was a long time ago. A patron suggested it to me, and I was like, I'm not sure if I can do much with this. But then, as I was doing more research and seeing his history, and it was like, wow, this is definitely someone who doesn't really get taught that much in schools these days. And I just had a really good time making it. I was, just happy to learn something about this guy. And, after a while, I still, I'm looking through my stuff. I still did a lot of like battle stuff, like what if Moscow was worth a mess? That was a fun one. But then, the Cowboy Bebop one, when I talked about like changes to, changes kind of like society in America to allow space exploration to continue and expand. Not much social history, but I definitely feel like since the Randolph video, I've been trying to steer away from battles and stuff like that. The Roe v. Wade video, obviously, the one I'm doing right now on electric vehicles and how that would impact the social history of America. It's really interesting about, it's just fascinating to me. Like electric vehicles, like their golden age was more than 100 years ago, and they were basically marketed to like women. And while there were legitimate like flaws, not flaws, shortcomings to them that made it so that electric vehicles would not be as popular as internal combustion, there seems to have been like just on the cusp of figuring it out, and at the very least, they could have kept them going just a little bit longer, so that maybe there might be some more technological breakthroughs, and how this would impact, like, you might not see much in the way of suburbs, you might not see the interstate, you might see more, high-speed rail. You might even see, like, rather than like long distance truckers, you might even see airships. I found an interesting article about how like they want more, cargo hops, which that is very interesting to me. And I don't know, you got a lot of fun changing history just by having this one technology be a little bit more successful. So yeah, I'm doing more about that. I'm just kind of shying away from big politics and more into just like social changes. How would society be different? So yeah, that's, at least for right now, that's my favorite kind of alternate history point divergence. Do OI or do OI? What are your thoughts of Destroyermen or the Artillerymen series? Have any of you guys like read The Lost Battalion? It's very similar. A Civil War battalion gets sent to this like alien world where all these different cultures from Earth's past have somehow accidentally stepped into and established like communities, and they're kind of stuck too. Like the Romans are still Roman, even though it's probably been centuries since their first ancestors stepped over into this alien world and built this new Rome or whatever. The same thing with like the Viking people. They're still Vikings, or at least what people assume Vikings are. They haven't really changed. But it's interesting because like that it's a good like kind of like fun, SF military kind of thing where you see like, the tactics of a Civil War regiment against these alien Mongol horse lords who also eat humans. And but it got like, it got rough near like the end because the author, I'm blanking on his name, although I think he did some stuff with Newt Gingrich. Um, he kind of like forgot what he wrote, and so characters motivations would change. Sometimes their names would change. Sometimes they would say things that completely contradicted stuff they said about their backstory in the past. And so I kind of dropped that. And that's kind of how I feel about Destroyermen and Artillerymen to some extent. Uh, Not so much of the contradictions and not editing. I'm sorry, I'm blanking on the author's name for both of those series. But like as time went on, like they're just the lore kept getting more and more complicated, and this especially with Destroyerman, it was just sort of like, I kind of this isn't bad, it's fun, but it's like I don't know if I can keep going. The series is getting a little long. Again, some of my problem with 1632 as well. It's like, wow, this series has gotten huge. I don't think I can keep going anymore. With Artilleryman, I read the first novel and I kind of enjoyed it, but there were some like weird moments in it. Like I found it kind of interesting that the author took a couple times to comment about slavery. Um, and it was very like, he was very like, look, history's complicated. And I understand like there's certain opinions you can have, certain history, not everything is black and white, yada, yada, yada. But like, he was all the characters seemed very like nice to the slaveholders. And the one black guy they had who was a slave who happened to go with the artillerymen, he just so happened to have the nicest slave owner who ever existed, who basically did not treat him as a slave at all until they went bankrupt and then they had to sell him. And it's like, wow, so lucky that this one guy who was in this novel had an experience that was absolutely an outlier for so many other enslaved Americans. And they brought up that whole fun bit where it's like, well, black people in Louisiana own slaves. Which like, it's when times I see that, it's like, okay, we're acknowledging that Louisiana had a very unique and different racial relations than most other states in the American South. But at the same time, we're also kind of using it to defend slavery rather than also acknowledge that much of that unique racial relations that were unique to Louisiana were eventually wiped out by Anglo settlers, the non-French people who moved in, who over time had a very American style race relations. And so eventually a lot of that unique features of Louisiana culture were sort of wiped away. So it's one of those kind of moments where it's like, and I also sometimes feel like, do we really need to see this? The artillerymen, yes, slavery was a big deal, but it's sort of like the author spent a little too much time apologizing for slavery, throughout it. And I get it, because also the people that they were trying to defend were also had slaves. And it's just like, it was just sort of cringy, for lack of a better term. So it was fine in terms of when it stuck to like the SF military aspects, just the battles. But other times it was also just sort of like, yeah, this seems like we're going on tangents here. So I don't know. Yeah, having a life is pretty good, Corey. I'd love to be a part of team reviewers, Carlos. Yeah, maybe if I bring it up. We'll see what happens. Vitor, the man in the high castle. Is that a question? I've read it a couple times. It's a really good book. It's probably one of the more influential alternate history novels. It falls into the problem of turning like this magical super techno Nazis. But I can't blame Dick down. I guess he's a weird guy. And as for the adaptation, I enjoyed the first couple seasons, but I think the second to last season was sort of meh, and I sort of fell off. One of these days, I might actually finish the series. Let's see, creator user, how long do your videos stay monetized for? There are still ads on old videos. As far as I know, they'll stay monetized until I say they shouldn't be. I do have a few videos. I'm looking them up right now. I do have a few videos that have limited monetization because YouTube decided they were bad. And for those, you might not see those in there. There's also a couple, I think, where I didn't monetize at all. These are like my Q&As and things like that. But as far as I know, ads will be on videos for the entire time. I have never really thought about taking video ads off. I don't make a lot of money through the ads to begin with. I do not have the numbers like some bigger YouTubers. So I'm not quitting my day job anytime soon, unfortunately. It'd be nice. It'd be nice too, but YouTube allows me to occasionally take my wife out to a nice dinner. It doesn't let me pay the bills. So yeah, have to have a day job for a little bit longer. Vitor again. What if Marvel? Never really read the comic books. I'm more of a DC fan myself, so Elseworlds is what I have a lot more experience with. I saw the cartoon that was in Disney Plus, which was fun. It was fun. I enjoyed some stories. Again, they were more geared toward the MCU, so just those characters changes to history, not too much in the way of like alternate history. It's kind of one of the reasons why I liked Elseworlds better during its run, because the stories were about the setting being different, while with What If it was more about what if the characters are different. So in Elseworlds you have like the Gotham by Gaslight. You have the one I think where Batman's in a Puritan New England that's independent. Things, weird stories like that are a lot more interesting, a lot more alternate history. But as for the What If Marvel comics, are like, not really my thing. Carlos, you also had a question about What If Marvel. Yeah, I agree. I haven't read all the What Ifs. Maybe some of them have different setting changes where the history itself changes. Isn't there like Neil Gaiman did one where there's like 16 something or 16? I don't remember. Like one where it's all set in the colonies because in the 17th century. I don't know if that would count as alternate history. I haven't read it, but they're not too much in the way of like just alternate history. Unknown, is there a cliche in alternate history media that bothers you or you dislike? When I did Trope Talk back in the day, that was sort of my whole plan to go through some of these different tropes and cliches, talking about the ones I'm okay with, the other ones I don't like. I like airships. Even though they are probably pretty implausible, barring changes to technology, I generally find them to be fun. There's just something so alternate history about them. But as for things I don't like, I don't know. I can't think of anything right off the top of my head that's like, oh, I really hate that. Luckily, some alternate history fans on alterhistory.com have made a list of like common cliches. So let me see. There we go. Let me see. I just go through the list really quick. Airships, love those. Balkanized, love those. Battleships, meh. Bland. United India, yeah, it's kind of boring. British space program, like that. Confederate Cuba, I did a whole video about why that's not good. So I don't like Confederate Cuba. Conventionally sudden death, yeah, I'm okay with that. Deseret, I don't like the Deserettes where everything is kind of happy fun. There seems to be a lot of Deseret nationalists online who are kind of terrible people. So I think seeing some Deserettes that are kind of crappy places might be a little bit more interesting to do. The Deutsches Reich, European Union. Yeah. People treating the EU as just some sort of new German empire is pretty annoying. Exiled Worlds go to colonies, love that. German Tech Week, again, super magic techno Nazis. Again, it's this idea that once the Nazis win, they would somehow become technological wizards, which I'm not sure if that makes sense, given the problems the Nazis would have had with their economy. So, I don't like that. So there we go. That's a good one. I don't like the super magic techno Nazis. So that's probably the one I disliked the least. Going back here. If you could make an adaptation of alternate book into a TV series, what would it be? And would you change anything about it from the characters or sets? I would love to see a 1632 series, an ensemble cast, kind of like this, I feel like it would probably be pretty easy to do. There's always these kind of period pieces that are being made. So all you got to do then would just have some regular people thrown in and you could have a lot of fun. The 17th century has a lot of interesting characters as well. 1632 would be a great series to do. You just would really, really have to cut down on the lore, which might upset some of the hardcore fans. But you're going to have to simplify the story a little bit for the audience. So you're probably not going to see too many characters, too many of your favorite characters. Excuse me. But you would still have a lot of the source material to pull from, which would be great. Hey, Mudge the Expendable. Congrats on the milestone. Keep it up. Thank you. I will. Daniel Bickford, speaking of plot holes in long stories, the only issue I've seen in 1632 books is some of the dates and times and placements of people in the book Atlantic Encounters. Okay. Again, I haven't gotten that far, so if you say there's some issues, yeah, there probably are. I mean, it's a huge story with so many people involved. I'm sure mistakes are made. At some point, like unless you have an encyclopedic memory about where everyone is at any time, you're going to make mistakes. But there's always like new additions you can put out where things are fixed. So. Corey, World War II is overused, but what era do you think is underused that you especially like? World War I think, has a lot of interesting things you can do with that, especially just the 20s as well. It was such a transitionary period for especially Europe that I think you can make for some interesting settings, especially with all the different people striving for independence or unity with each other or things like that. I mean, the Czechoslovak Legion, taking control of the Trans-Siberian Railway so they can get home the long way. I would love to see someone do something with that, not just as an alternate history, but just like as a history. Like, that's just a fascinating period, a fascinating event. And I would love to see more about that. Just give me a second. So any other kind of periods of history? I mean, just doing things besides the usual like wars. At some point you get tired of reading the same thing over and over again. And I know I probably read more than most alternate history than most people, so I'm a little bit more jaded than probably a lot of other people. But like, it's just something different. I know it's hard. You got to try to reach a wide audience, so you can't get too obscure. But like, there's got to be something you can do. There's got to be some things you can create. History is this vast topic with so many different people who have interacted with each other and cultures and nations and things like that. You have this cornucopia of things to do. Just have fun, go out there, do some research. Just don't just do the same wars over and over again. Did you ever have a dream about an alternate history? I had one where the British Empire and the Empire of Japan were in a Cold War alliance between the United States and the Russian Federation. Yeah, I actually have. One I still kind of remember. I don't have too many details about the setting, but I remember being in some sort of like coffee shop in Volgograd, the town before Stalingrad, but the Russian Empire still existed. But I got the feeling that it was several decades, might even been the present day. But I got the feeling that the Russian Empire still existed. The city had never been called Stalingrad, and I'm in a tea shop or coffee shop or something, and I have no idea why. So I don't remember much other details about the dream, but I remember that specific situation, that I was in this place, and this place had some unique characteristics. Might be fun to do. I always like Russian empires where they managed to actually make the transition to a constitutional monarchy. Excuse me. I mean, someone on Twitter the other day was posting about the poor Romanovs. Like the Romanov, Nick II was a terrible, terrible leader. He was an idiot. He was incompetent. He was often probably just terrible to his people. He's not a good person. The best thing he could have done for Russia was let democracy win. Turn himself into a constitutional monarch where he really didn't have to do anything, and they had a parliament to do everything else. That would probably be the best thing he could have done to continue the survival of his family as a ruler of Europe. Everything else he did, you can't be a good guy if one of the lasting legacies that you left is the creation of the Soviet Union. He's just as much responsible as anybody else in its creation. Yeah, that's my and you can't even say he didn't have warnings. The revolution of 1905, he had plenty of opportunities to see where things were going, and he stubbornly refused to the very end. And even if you're like, well, it wasn't him, it was all his advisors, it's like, okay, good, he was also an idiot for not noticing his advisors were idiots. Like he was a terrible leader. I don't know why people feel so sad for him. Like, oh, he was nice to his wife and kids. Okay, I'm sure a lot of terrible people have people who love them. I'm sure a lot of mass murderers had dogs who are happy to see them. I don't care. That doesn't make him a good person. That doesn't make him a good leader. That doesn't make me feel sorry for what happened to him. Sliders, knives reaction. Vitor, I've talked to you about sliders. I'm trying to do the whole series. Actually, that's the plan, to review every single episode. It's going to probably take a while as I get to it. And again, like I've been bad about it. Things have gotten distracted, but I'm hoping to put out a Re-Sliders episode very soon, hopefully. At the very least, the next couple of months. Carlos, what if Rome had failed to conquer Egypt? Rome would probably be a lot poorer, for one thing. I mean, back in the day, Egypt was, Rome's breadbasket, and not only that, it was sort of its access to the wider world. There was a lot of trade through Red Sea ports. That it would still take a pretty long time because ships kind of had to wait for the changes of the seasons. But yeah, there was a lot of Roman gold going to India in exchange for goods. And that helped the Roman Empire a lot. So not having Egypt would basically mean that Rome would not have the finances to, probably expand as much. So if there is a Roman Empire, it would probably be a lot smaller. Or should I say, if there was a smaller Roman Empire, probably would still be a republic, as there probably wouldn't be that much incentive to be a Caesar. Which might be a good thing for Rome if they're smaller and able to just kind of survive as in a much smaller size rather than expand too much and trying to defend the whole empire at once and not able to do anything and collapse like what happened. Although, let's be honest, sorry, there's a fly down here. Let's be honest, Rome did very well if you count the Eastern Romans as Romans, which you should. But yeah, I think in terms of just having a Roman Republic last for even longer than it did, it might actually be a good idea for Rome not to control Egypt. Just some thoughts there. What would you think about? Oh, sorry, this is creator user. What would you think about a Sliders reboot like with Quantum Leap? I haven't actually watched the new Quantum Leap, so I can't really say whether it's good. I've heard good things, so maybe I'll get around to it eventually. I'm kind of just burned out about reboots and remakes in general. It's like it just gets so freaking exhausting. Like it's just like I want to kind of see new stuff. So it's like I don't want to put too much support behind a reboot unless it's really good. And I'm not going to really know that until other people tell me it, unfortunately. I have heard they're planning to do a Sliders reboot. Excuse me. Or at the very least, it's in the works. And they might even get back some of the original cast, which would be nice. Again, though, I probably have to watch it. Although I'm not always very good about watching alternate history stuff. I still haven't watched For All Mankind. It's mostly just I don't want to get another streaming service, but I probably should one of these days. I mean, if it's in some sort of the streaming service that I own that I can easily watch it, then yeah, I'll probably check it out. But it would have to be really good. Unknown, I know you follow Why Not 1989. Is there any other alternate history mapper you're a fan of? Yeah. I'm trying to pull up a list so I can try to remember everybody. There's a fair few of them. Bruce Monroe. He does some really good stuff. He does a lot of like he uses just basically MS Paint, and most of his maps are just kind of like have huge text walls. But he makes such interesting scenarios that I really enjoy them. Shah Abbas 1571. He does some really good stuff too, especially from non-European kind of perspectives, which is always kind of good to see. I mean, there's a lot of people. I wish I had a good list somewhere. Why not? It's probably one of my favorite alternate cartographers. I use him for commissions all the time. I'm looking up my DeviantArt profile to see like who am I watching right now? Who's the people I like the best here? Going through. I'm gonna butcher his name here, but Miletus Atterdag. He does some good stuff. I really liked his Greco-Buddhist Empire. And I'm probably not going to say everyone I enjoy. So apologies to all those people who are like, hey, why don't you mention me? Like, I'm sorry. There's so many of you. Trying to look through Federal Republic. I've enjoyed his stuff a lot. Oh yeah, Rubber Duck 3Y6. He's done a lot of good stuff as well, especially with like EUS. Who am I missing here? Oh, Zaleski. I'm not sure if he's very active these days, but he's done some good stuff here and there. Oh, he still does put stuff up. Yeah, he's does some a lot of good stuff as well. And there's a bunch of people. Like I'm a type of person where like I used to share a lot of maps, but now I'm a little bit more picky. But like if I share a map, then you can probably know I really find it interesting, either because of how it's drawn or the scenario it depicts. Carlos. Oops. What happened? Okay, here we go. Oh, For All Mankind is Wonderful. You love it. I probably would. It's just I don't want to pay for another streaming service. I sometimes will like complain about this to Elena, my wife, and I'll be like, I wish you have something you can bundle all these streaming services just kind of one service. I'm like, oh wait, that's cable. But I just want to reinvent cable, but it's like, so I don't technically want to do that. But I wish I could like, I wish there was a way to buy like a time fee rather than buy your subscription. I just do like a one payment, like one small payment, like I don't know, $10, and I can then have a specific amount of period of time to stream this show that's just on Apple TV. I would even sit through some ads for other products to try to get me to actually get a subscription. I would love that. That'd be great. It'll be a great way for me to do that. And I know people have said like, well, why don't you like just write it off on your taxes when you do a video for it? And I'm like, yeah, I guess I could do that. It's still just like, I don't want to pay for it. I don't want to go through the process of like also making sure I cancel it in time. So I don't get charged more. I just want to watch that series, and I want that to be as easy as possible. Urgh. Sorry, I am very thirsty. Okay, Giuseppe Ucci. Sorry if I mispronounce everyone's names here. Hi, I'm a member of an Italian community of alternate historians. I'm following very closely your work, and I've translated some of your alternate histories. Link to original videos included. Thanks. Okay. How do I respond to this? Because look, I'm trying to be nice here, but there have been a few times where people have kind of posted my videos on other people's YouTube channels. With they would literally just download my video, upload it to theirs, and try to take views from me. So I have an occasionally time let YouTube say, don't do that. I'm not sure if that's what you're doing. Although there is ability for me to put closed captions. Translated, text so people can have it. So I don't know, maybe hit me up on my email if you want to maybe suggest putting some, translate the video so people can have like, closed captions and can see people in Italy can see that kind of stuff. I'd be happy to post that on there. I'm just very kind of like uncomfortable about people, sharing my videos and then, like getting views for that, and especially if they're monetizing that. I really don't like that. I'm not accusing you of anything. I'm just trying to show what's happened to me in the past. Just something to think about. Like if there's anybody who who knows languages besides English who would like to translate some of my videos, I believe YouTube lets me upload that, and so that other people from other languages, people who speak languages besides English, can watch my videos, and I'm happy to do that. I just don't like it when people take my videos, post it on their channel, and potentially monetize it. I'm a little uncomfortable about that. So if anyone has any questions about that, feel free to email me. Corey, Sliders, would a group watch for ideas be helpful? We could all watch it with you and do a reaction episode. Yeah, that might be fun to do. Oh yeah, maybe like a watch party. I think there is ways to do that. I'll have to think about that, Corey. Giuseppe, congratulations, keep on going. Thank you. Vitor, Star Wars versus Star Trek. Star Wars. I am a huge Star Wars fan. In case if you were here when I was talking about buying Star Wars Expanded Universe books, I've always been a huge Star Wars fan. I've tried so much to get involved in Star Trek because people say I would enjoy it, but unfortunately, it's never really worked out. In fact, hold on a second. Hold on. I promise you, it's not a striptease or anything, but this goes with the question that's being asked. So this is a shirt I'm wearing right now because we were decorating the house for Christmas. So yeah. I'm definitely a Star Wars guy. Definitely a Star Wars guy. Corey, that's religious territory. I'm sure. I mean, I like I said, I've tried to get into Star Trek, and some Star Trek is really good. Like some of the movies, like Wrath of Khan. I love Wrath of Khan. That's a great movie. The remake they did, J.J. Abrams. I like that movie, although I have some people say it was one of the best Star Wars movies they've ever seen, and I'm like, yeah, okay, I can get that. Like, but like, I've tried, I just can't get into it, and especially when people try to like get me on like the Next Generation, where it's like, look, it's really terrible the first two seasons. You just got to stick to I don't want to stick through it. I just want it to be good. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't make me want to watch it any more than it doesn't really make me want to watch it at all. Vitor, Quantum Leap reboot. I already talked about Quantum Leap. Oi, how would you feel about alternate history with the Empire of Japan joining the Allied forces in World War II? I've thought about that. I think there is even an alternate history out there somewhere which basically has that scenario actually happen. I mean, I guess first I've got to figure out what causes Japan to sort of shift and join the Allies, and then you got to kind of wonder well, what happens then? Does Japan just say like a junior ally to U.S., or does it sort of become another rival during the Cold War? Does it sort of just like do its own thing, maybe setting itself up as some sort of anti-colonial power? Does it try to just sort of dominate through soft power, through economy? Does Korea and Taiwan remain part of the empire, or they get decolonized later? What happens to China as well if Japan never invades? How does all the warlordism go on? Or does Chiang Kai-shek, take over sooner? What does that mean for the communist Chinese? I mean, there was a battalion. I don't know if it was a battalion. I'm using the wrong word there. But there were units of the nationalist military that were trained by the Germans, the Nazi Germans. There's even pictures of them with the Coal Scuttle helmets and everything like that. What would China? How would their diplomatic history change? Would they get closer to Germany without the threat of Japan? Maybe, I don't know. Maybe there's a lot of interesting things you can go there. I'm just not sure. I don't know enough about it to say anything, but there's definitely some fun what ifs there. Maybe one day I'll do that video. Subtitles, Carlos, thank you. I was kept saying closed captioning, but I really wanted to say subtitles. I don't know why I couldn't say that word. I can contribute with Spanish. Thanks. I'd probably take you up on that. Corey, please don't mention JJ Trek without David Michelle show. I have opinions. Great. I'd love to hear it. I love hearing opinions. I spend all my days on the internet, so of course I love opinions. I liked it. I thought it was fun watching the movie. I never saw the sequels, so I obviously didn't like it that much. But I think I actually saw it with my father-in-law, who was a much bigger Trek fan than me. So I guess maybe I was just trying to get in his good graces. This was I think before I was married to Elena. I can't remember when that movie came out. But yeah, that's basically why I watched it. And I had fun, you know. Vitor, Harry Potter, what if? Yeah, what if J.K. Rowling didn't burn all the goodwill she had by being a terrible person? That would be a fun what if to do. Corey, Extra History on Nebula has recently started a video series on why Japan attacked Pearl Harbor. Multi thumbs up recommended. All right, cool. I'll have to check that up. There seems to be a few people I know who are on Nebula. But I don't really watch the service itself. I see ads for it all the time. Yeah, I definitely will try checking that out. What's your opinion on the Fallout series? Although, this is from Unknown. What's your opinion on the Fallout series? Although it doesn't exactly focus a lot on it, alternate history, but I still find its lore interesting. No, I find it interesting too. There was a time where I actually subscribed to a Fallout lore channel just because I just had fun hearing about this weird stuff. I think ultimately I stopped watching it because that's probably just one of my I kind of purge all my YouTube subscriptions every so often because basically it just becomes a little too much. I'm finding myself spending way too much time watching YouTube instead of doing other things. And so occasionally I'm like, I really don't need to watch this channel anymore. It was fun while it lasted, but it's become kind of a time sink. I think that's what kind of happened to it. I don't remember the name of the channel, unfortunately. But yeah, it's got some fun lore. I've never really played the games. My brother has, and I would watch him play it because he was a much better gamer TM than I am. So that was kind of how I kind of enjoyed video games mostly. I gotta stop shaking my table. So it seems like a fun series. I like the lore, but I'm not the biggest fan, I would say. Carlos, wow, Soviets on the Axis side would be bad news for everyone. Absolutely. It's interesting about the whole Soviets' attempts to get into the Axis. There's a lot of questions about whether Stalin was that naive about what was going on versus whether he was just trying to buy as much time as possible before he backstabbed Hitler. But yeah, having the Soviet Union attacking the British throughout different parts of Asia would be really bad for the world in general. Although ultimately, I think it would be bad for a lot of people if the United States had to start mass producing nuclear weapons to bomb Nazi Germany and the Soviet Union into submission as well, because that's probably what would happen. Let's see. Crazy. For Japan joined the Allies. The British attacked Soviet oil fields while they're still a German ally, so the Soviets joined the Axis. So Japan joins the war. Oh, Carlos, this is what you referring to? I hope things were out of order there. So the Soviets joined the Axis, so Japan joins the war with the Allies against the USSR. That's a possibility. Rafael Corletta. Just started A Different Flesh by Harry Troudov. Thoughts on the book? Man, it's been a long time since I read that book. I've been meaning to reread it again. I remember enjoying it when I did read it. If I remember correctly, it's not like it's a several different. In fact, I think I have it here somewhere. Hold on. I think I have it here. Yeah. My bookshelf is kind of out of order, but this one happened to be, I got a copy from Half Price Books. If I remember correctly, this is a Bane book too. Interesting. Yeah, it was like separate short stories all kind of set in the same universe. It was a very interesting idea. Like what would, like, essentially, if North America was a little bit more wild. I kind of like the idea. I kind of don't remember too much of the book. I kind of wish I should really go back to it one of these days and just sort of refresh my memory, because this was definitely a book, one of the earliest alternate novels I read. And so I don't have a good answer for you, Raphael. I remember enjoying it when I did read it, but I can't really tell you anything about it. I will say this about Harry Troudov in general. And none of you go tattle to me because I know he's on Twitter. He's definitely the master of alternate history. He's done so much for the genre. His earlier works, especially his novels, his standalone novels, are a lot better than his later works and some of his multi-book series. this is especially true for like the Southern Victory Timeline 191 books, where the first few novels are great. I mean, How Few Remain is considered still one of the best novels of alternate history. But as he gets into World War II, some of the the cliches of Turtle Dove really start appearing a lot more frequently. And we all got tired of that one guy who always got sunburned. I can't remember his name now, that one character. So yeah, Turtle Dove's tendency to repeat things a lot. When you first few novels, it's not too bad. But when you're on book 12, it's like, God damn it, say something else about this character. So there's my thoughts on Harry Turtle in general. Ray 3, do you think Imperial Germany is often demonized in alternate histories? Yes and no. I think online they're not demonized all that much. There's definitely this undercurrent of Kaiser winks, for lack of a better term. People kind of like Imperial Germany a lot. And I kind of get it, at least in the sense that maybe before the war, World War One, that is, Imperial Germany might have been not that much different than Britain and France. They were terrible imperialist colonizers, yada yada. But Imperial Germany was still an autocracy. Imperial Germany was still pretty militaristic, more so than democracies. Germany itself did some pretty terrible things during the war, the rape of Belgium, for example. I honestly think Imperial Germany should be demonized more in alternate history. I think a lot of authors tend to give them a break because they're not the Nazis. But, Imperial Germany was not a nice place. Imperial Germany committed some of the first genocides in record, at least the modern concept of genocide. This is not something that we should forget about just because someone came after who was even worse. They're just bad. They should be remembered for what they did and not try to be like, oh, wasn't this so much better? Going back to what I said about the Romanovs, no, they were bad. Just, we don't have to make them seem better. Just take them as they are. They were not good. Let's see, Carlos. Turtles Through the Darkest Europe seemed to me like a lost opportunity. It was a straightforward detective mystery that may as well have happened in the real world. Yeah, I read this story. I thought it was fine, although, nothing too spectacular about it. I don't think I gave it a pretty good rating for the Sidewise Awards. For those who don't know, I am a Sidewise Awards judge. I kind of wish he did a little bit more world building when it came to the Muslim world. It was mostly just focusing on how bad Christians were, but we don't really learn too much about what's going on in the Muslim world, and I felt that was definitely a lost opportunity. So yeah, that's my thoughts about it. Corey, I met Harry Turtle Dove at Balticon 2015. He's just a wonderful man to chat with as you wait for the next session in a conference room. Oh, no, I've met him a couple times, or at least heard him speak. He's an extremely light guy. He's very funny. I've even interviewed him for Amazing Stories. No, he's a wonderful guy, wonderful man. And I don't want anyone to take my criticism of his books as like an attack or anything like that. Just my opinion. He's still one of the best alternate history writers out there. That's just my opinion as a connoisseur of alternate history. That being said, Harry Turtle will, has essentially put his place in our timeline and all the other timelines as one of the best alternate historians. Sam Carson, Raphael, thank you. Sam Carson needs to get some sunscreen. Apparently, it never worked for him. And apparently, also, I think in the spoiler alert, in the last novel, he may have skin cancer as well, which could be bad. Carlos, fun trivia. Imperial Germany did do something big for the AA genre. They invented wargaming simulation. Yeah, I heard about that. Excuse me. Yeah, I've heard about that. They were some of the ones to sort of pioneer that as a way to train their, officers. How chess was, at first a way that officers train to understand strategy, but it's not the same. Soldiers don't move like the chess pieces, and so you want something a little bit more realistic. So yeah, I'll give them credit for doing that, I guess. So yeah. Wow, we've been going for about an hour now. If there's any more questions, I'll be happy to answer that. If not, I'm probably going to wrap things up. Anyone got anything else? Chat seems quiet right now. I do have a Discord. If you're one of my patrons at any level, you'll get an invite to it, and then you can join it. Unfortunately, I am pretty bad about spending time there. It's one of many things I need to do better about, and just chat with people there and everything like that. So maybe if more people join, become patrons, I might show up a little bit more often and have conversations there. Maybe I should start doing Discord streams, just Discord hangouts or whatever they're called, just to encourage that a little bit more with my patrons. Thoughts on Master of Jin? I liked it. It was a fun story, and I definitely deserved a lot of the awards it got. I actually. Not to throw my fellow Sidewise judges under the bus, but I did campaign to get it kind of like acknowledged in the Sidewise Awards. But some of the judges don't like magic fantasy kind of elements as much as I do in their alternate history. So there's a tendency to sometimes consider those novels not alternate history, which it's unfortunate, but there was a lot of good alternate history at that time. But no, it definitely deserved all the awards. And it's definitely my go-to example recently when people be like, yeah, when people get too critical of like alternate history, and I always like, look at this won all these awards, this alternate history book. Why is no one talking about it? Why has no one read it? Like, stop complaining about books that were written 20, 30 years ago. Read what's being written now because it's really good, and don't ignore it. What would you do if a second American Civil War broke out after the next presidential election? Would you attempt to flee the U.S.? Fuck no, man. This is my home. Fight to defend it to the end. Of course, it's easy to say those kind of big words here on the internet when I'm doing a live stream with people. I don't think a second American Civil War is going to break out. Things are polarized, but I also have faith that most regular people don't care about a lot of the stuff you see online. I think the midterms itself recently showed that, a lot of far right talking points don't really sell well to the American voter. They don't care. They don't care what kind of bathroom a trans person is using. They just don't. It's like, whatever, man. Things cost more. What are you doing about that? It's like, well, we're going to investigate Hunter Biden's laptop. Okay. No one cares. And I think some people are going to start seeing that. It is scary. There's a lot more violence these days, especially from the right. But I don't think this is going to lead to some, civil war with, battle lines drawn. I think you're probably just going to see more kind of like a low, at worst, some low level insurgency where you have these terrorists essentially shooting up places, bombing places, things like that. But I don't think it's going to become a mass movement enough that we're going to see a civil war. Anyway, in case I'm going to go dark right now. I'm being very dark and depressing right now. So hopefully some of the next questions will be a little bit more lighthearted. Are you considering a move to Mastodon? This is Mudge the Expendable. No. I think someone posted on Twitter the other day, it's like, kind of quoted Office Space, like, why should I leave? He's the one who sucks. And I'm like, yeah, that's basically it. I'm happy that. Alexa, stop. Sorry, I don't know why she said that. No, I mean, like, I'm probably going to stick out to the bitter end. It hasn't become. I completely respect people who have decided to leave. I get it. They got to do what's comfortable for them, and there's no reason why I should stay in a place that's not comfortable. Unfortunately, it's like I've built up a pretty strong community there, and it's been a boon for helping me promote my channel. So I'm going to probably stick out for as long as I can. I hasn't reached that level there, and again, if we all leave, then yeah, it just becomes Gab 2.0, and then is that really all what we want? I've just been very liberal when it comes to muting and the block button, just to keep it the corner of the Twitter that I have up. So as for Mastodon, I have tried it. I have experimented with it. I'm not too impressed, but if that's ultimately what becomes the site that everyone goes to, that's probably where I will go. Carlos, thoughts on Everfair? Haven't read it yet. We'll probably try reading it soon. Dimitri, Doel, Jesus Land. I did a video on that. You should go check it out. Have you ever seen or read The Terror, Du Oi? No, I have not. I'll try to read it. I think there's a TV show about it. Corey, you can find me there using hashtag #AlterHistory hashtag. I love to see more people talking about AH and the hairy elephant. Yeah, I love to see people talking about alternate history everywhere. Ray3, do you speak multiple languages? No, unfortunately, I don't. I used to know how to swear in Serbian, but unfortunately, I ran out of practice and I kind of forgot. In one of my more recent attempts to actually remember made people laugh, so I decided that no, I don't know how to do that anymore. I took Spanish in high school, but unfortunately, I don't know anything other than some basic words here and there. Would love to, but again, just don't have the time to do it. Mudge again. You're on Mastodon as Expendable Mudge. If I'm going to follow him. William Joel, opinions on the Twitter drama. I kind of already said that when I was talking about Mastodon. Ray3, what are your thoughts on other alternate history YouTubers? Cody's cool. He and I have interacted over the years. I wouldn't say we're friends per se, but he's a nice guy. I like some of his videos. Other stuff are, but still, I usually see why he's the most popular person on there. He's really good at what he does. Nice guy. So let's see, Monster Z, fascist. Don't follow him. I see YouTube tells me a lot of people watch this, tend to watch his stuff. Please don't. He's a terrible person. What if I'm trying to remember looking at his name now? What if all his I haven't really watched his stuff, so I can't really say that. Although one time he made a meme that became really popular, where he put various different alternate history YouTubers on an ideology compass. And he said about me that he didn't really watch my stuff, and I'm like, great. We just sit here not watching each other. That's awesome. So that's my thoughts on other alternate history YouTubers. Hopefully it doesn't cause any drama. Well, yeah. I think I'm going to wrap things up now. I guess I should put my closing statements. So, well, guys, thanks, guys and gals. Thanks for following me on YouTube. Thanks for subscribing. It's been fun. This is something I do that, how do I describe it? What this is, it's because it's not a job. I'm not trying to necessarily replace my job as much as I would love to, but it's a way to kind of express myself and enjoy alternate history and form this kind of community. And it's been great. It's been fun. I love seeing the comments. I love hearing from people. I love just talking alternate history with everybody, and it's really great. So I hope to do more of it later. If I didn't get to your question, if I skipped it or something, you can find me on Twitter. You can find me on Facebook. You can find me on DeviantArt. You can even find me on alternatehistory.com. Feel free to. I got an email too. Feel free to send me an email. And yeah, thanks, guys. Thanks for getting me to 30,000 YouTubers. Happy holidays to everybody. And hopefully I'll have my next video on electric vehicles out, the history of them. That should be fun. I promised one of my patrons to do what if the Soviet Union and China didn't have their famous split and how that would change history. That should be fun to do. I want to do an alternate history soon on LGBTQ history. I think that might be fun. So yeah, thanks for 30,000 subscribers. Thanks for hanging out with me here on a Q&A. Maybe I'll do this again if everyone enjoyed it. Yeah, well, I guess I'll just say goodbye like I always do. Bye.